Alright, hello and welcome back to another one of these Patreon podcast things. It's the month of October, it's spooky, it's scary. I've met a guy named Barry, and it's the 7th. I'm recording this on a Saturday afternoon because I just got this week's video out this week because I've been trying to step back over the last couple weeks. Been trying to take a bit of a slower, less intense approach to things. I was very rigid in my schedule for the last few months, and because of that, I came very close to burning myself out, as I talked about in the previous podcast, I think a couple times. And I don't want that to happen, you know. I want to kind of enjoy the next couple months. I want to have the holiday season feel like the holiday season and not like a lot of work that's getting interrupted by the holiday season. So, not been posting on Instagram quite as much, not been doing shorts, just kind of been trying to keep the podcasts going and get a video out every week, but not necessarily pushing myself to get it right out. You know, last month, and I think maybe even the month before, it was every week I would be like, all right, we're going to sit down and we're going to get this whole thing edited in one go, and that just didn't feel healthy anymore because it was completely throwing off my sleep schedule and whatnot. So I've been trying to kind of resort things and carve out more time at different points in the day, both for myself and for production, so that production isn't so much of a slog. It's more like a thing I kind of dip into throughout the day. And hopefully that shows. Hopefully that does help things out over the next couple months, but I don't know, because I'm at the start of this attempt at things, and you're at least at the latter half of it by the time this comes out. At the very least, I hope this month's stream goes better, because going to be doing something special, something fun. We'll talk about that at the end of the podcast, but last month's stream was a bit of a mess. I had a fun time doing it. I think the tier list format does actually suit me quite well, a lot better than I expected, but forgetting to turn my mic on for the first 20 minutes of that video kind of fucking ruined it. It's kind of unwatchable, because a lot of the stuff I say towards the end of the stream is very informed by my early, long discussions of G1 and Beast Wars. So, I don't know, maybe we'll redo that at some point, but for right now, let's just get into what's been going on this week. So obviously the Ghost video just came out today, and that's been an interesting experiment in, again, trying to take it a little easier, but in some ways it's paid off, in some ways it hasn't, because filming it was a bit of a mess, as you might have found out. I basically went in with no plan except like, oh, this spot on the campus is kind of interesting. It reminds me of some locations from Ghost. I can use that. I've never used it before. And then I went there, and I got right up to the point where I do the opening, "Hey, I'm the Vacuuminator," and a bunch of dudes pulled up and started loudly playing basketball at a basketball court that was just out of frame, and it was like, well, can't tell them to shove off, and I have no idea how long their game's gonna be, and I don't want to make them feel like somebody's waiting on them to leave, so I'll just pick up and find something else. And luckily I was able to find a building I didn't even know existed on the campus and looked pretty abandoned. It was interesting. I actually did go up the stairs and look inside to try and see what was going on. Looked at that sign. It was basically, if door is locked and no one's around, call this number. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that, because I would like to film here without any interruptions, and it's pretty quiet on the campus today as is. But I did peek in the windows in some way. It looked very different than a lot of the buildings on campus I've been inside. It looked like a sort of basement living area. There was like a wet bar and stuff, and a bunch of chairs and couches. So I don't know what was up with that place, but the staircase made for a good filming background, and that's all I really care about, especially because the rest of filming that was quite stressful, you know. I'm sure it shows a little bit in my performance, but not really having my thoughts organized really kneecapped me out there. I think I got through it well enough, but it was a lot of, like, stumbling over words trying to jog my own memory, and at one point I almost had like a full breakdown of like, God, what the fuck am I doing with my life, because I just felt in the moment it was going so bad, but luckily I was able to make that into an editing joke, so and yeah, that was pretty much it for that one. Got it filmed in about 40 minutes, cut it down to 30, and editing was actually pretty pleasant for it, because like I said, been trying to take a step back, so I only did a couple hours of editing on it a night, and I still was able to get it out Friday morning for you guys, and Saturday for everybody else, and I think it came out fairly well. At least I think it's a fairly watchable video. I don't know how people are going to react to it. I haven't actually even looked at the numbers for it. I do really love the thumbnail I made for it, just blatant clickbait garbage. Kind of describing like, hey, don't take this too seriously. This isn't like Megapore Sucks where I'm like militantly mad about this thing anymore. I'm just getting this shit off my chest, you know. But hey, we have the power of the internet, so let's see in the first 3 hours how well has this thing done. Oh wow, got the friggin' fireworks off of this thing. It's gotten 50 views so far, 3 comments, and 4 likes. Not bad numbers for me on a first day launch. That's pretty nifty. I will I'll look at this again in a bit. I don't want to be like constantly harping on shows and making negative content. Like, I'm sure at least one of those free comments is somebody telling me like, oh, you should do Ninja because you brought up Ninja and Megapore Sucks too. But like, honestly, it's been so long since Ninja, and those characters have come back so few times that I don't even fucking care anymore. It's whatever to me. Yeah, Ghost Video seems to have gone well, so that's nice, What else has been going on this week? Well, as I said, I've not been pushing myself too hard. I've been trying to enjoy the week of getting paid and just kind of taking a little bit extra time, so I have been watching some more content than I would normally have time to talk about on this podcast. I've started up the second season of the Doom Patrol show, and the third season of the CW Supergirl show, because I needed something to watch on lunch one day, and then I was kind of flailing around one night going like, oh shit, I paid for Netflix to watch Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, which, you know what, let's start off with that, because I said I wasn't going to talk about it much publicly, but you're paying Patreon, so here, fucking Cosmic Fury review. It's pretty good. I liked it. It wasn't like a perfect ending to the franchise, but it had some fun moments, some decent character arcs. I really liked how they did kind of like a really good modern take on the superhero is worried about their loved one getting hurt because of who they are trope, with the whole Fern becoming a ranger subplot. I liked the deeper exploration of Ion and Zato's friendship. Billy was a pretty good side mentor for the team, and it was really cool that he got to be in the last scene of Power Rangers, much like he's in the first scene of Power Rangers. Some fun lore drops here or there. The villains are really, really fun. I love that they just straight up went like, oh yeah, we're not gonna try and make Zed like a huge threat again. We're gonna have him be manipulated by these goofy billionaire characters like he would be. And it's like, yeah, that's fun. That feels a little more modern. That feels a little more true to life, and it allows Zed to be at his best, which is comedy relief, kind of like why me I want to be the big evil guy, but I have to deal with all this bullshit, Lord Zed. Season 3 Lord Zed is my favorite Lord Zed. And this comes pretty close to that characterization. There's a couple great moments, like when Squillia is trying to do a TikTok with a bunch of monsters, and Zed is just like, how is this battle strategy? I asked you in here for like your offensive plan. What is going on? What? And that's really fun. Also, Evil Ollie liked that way better than I thought I would, because obviously it's a little bit of retread from Dino Fury, but Kai Moya is just so good at not even chewing the scenery, but just like having this perfect, evil, tortured smolder about his performance that I'm like, give that guy a job playing a villain in a Marvel movie. I don't have like a specific villain in mind, but I'd like to see him get to play like a villain in a bigger production at some point. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. Heckle coming back was fun, but kind of barely made sense and just kind of felt like, who have we got? What fan service can we do? But I did like it. I didn't hate it. In hindsight, it didn't feel like the best use of time, you know? But anyways, getting back to Doom Patrol and Supergirl. So, I loved the first season of the Doom Patrol. I watched that back in the days of the DC Universe Unlimited app and was a huge fan of it. I think that show is really brilliant at realizing a lot of Grant Morrison's best early ideas on screen, and also like making you appreciate characters that you either have overlooked or have gotten tired of. Like, gotta remember, that show came out during the time when DC and Warner Brothers were just putting Cyborg in fucking everything. Like, they were trying to make Cyborg as a big prime member of the Justice League a thing. They were trying to make that happen, and it really desperately just felt like, oh shit, we don't have any black people on the Justice League. We gotta fix that. Who we got? I went into that show, I remember originally thinking, God, I don't know anything about this group of characters. This isn't really my thing, but it looks interesting and it's getting really good reviews. But fucking Cyborg, why is he here? And then the show starts and the whole Doom Patrol is just like, fucking Cyborg, why are you here? And then it ends up being like one of the best explorations of Cyborg's character I've ever seen. Like, he's one of my favorite characters on the show. Him and Negative Man are kind of tied for my favorite character. And then, of course, like, Brendan Fraser and Timothy Dalton just turning in really good, solid performances as these characters you wouldn't expect them to be playing. Trying to think of like how specifically I could talk about like Rita and Jane, but they're great too. That's all I really have to say. Doom Patrol's just a really good fucking show. If you haven't checked it out, you probably should. I'm about halfway through the second season now. I just watched Space Patrol because all the episodes are named Suffing Patrol. So I'll be getting back to that over the workday, because right now that's my lunchtime show. I was trying to watch Tokusatsu at lunch at work, but it just wasn't sticking, it wasn't grooving as much as I would like it to. So right now I'm just kind of trying to find a good time to watch the rest of Kamen Rider 1971 for Twit, and then I'll probably watch Agito in chunks going forward. But you probably know that already if you keep up with Twit. And if you don't, go fucking subscribe to Modular Media and keep up with Twit. It's a good time. And CW Supergirl, I fucking hated the first 2 seasons of that show. It was so frustrating how it's like, there's a good show here, but it's not a show I want to watch. And you're making a lot of stupid choices that are clearly just for being limited by the powers that be, and it really seems like you don't even want to do a Supergirl show, you want to do a Superman show, but for whatever reason you can't, because Warner Brothers has this ridiculous idea about, like, some characters. Oh, you can't put them on TV, you can't put them in a cartoon, those are movie characters. Never mind that they're fucking comic book characters before they're anything else. And Melissa Benoist's performance as Kara is always fantastic. I love her. I love the way she plays the character. It's just the material she's given is often very, very mediocre. And this season is no exception. There's some rough episodes. You can tell that this was really coming out during the height of, like, the Trump's either about to be or has just gotten elected time in popular culture, where any media that is written by liberal people is just being so ham-fisted, it's almost cringy. And, like, there are episodes that are out and out about, like, minority or LGBTQ issues, and I'm like, well, let me double check. Oh, this is written by two old white people who clearly mean well, but Jesus Christ. Oh boy. So that's the kind of show Supergirl is. And I'm only watching it because I looked for it, like I said, a few months ago, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And torrenting it seemed like a real bear of a thing to figure out, because there's no, like, season batch torrents, at least not on any of the sites I use. So I would have had to have gotten episode by episode, and of course the seeds are going to be wildly varying there. So I was just like, okay, I paid for Netflix for Cosmic Fury, it's here, let's see how much we can get through before my month of Netflix is up. So that's what I'm kind of doing. I've been watching it while I'm editing and whatnot, and it's not terrible, but over the last 24 hours or so, I have been taking a break from that and Doom Patrol to watch a crap ton of Doctor Who, because I rarely get the chance to talk about it, but I do love Doctor Who. It's one of my favorite things, and in just about a half hour here, we're going to be interviewing a major Doctor Who video essay channel guy for Modular Components, and I was like, oh, I want to immerse myself in that world again so I can talk about it with him, because I tend to, like, go through Doctor Who phases, I guess you would say, where it's like, or I get in the mood for it. When a new season is on, Doctor Who is like the main thing I think about. I'm watching old episodes, I'm watching the new episodes, I'm going back and I'm, like, looking at stuff and reading up and all this and that. And then when it's been off for more than a couple of weeks, it's just completely out of my head. But I was like, okay, if we're going to talk to this guy, I got this guy to come on for Components, need to brush up on my Doctor Who. So I watched a few of his videos, and I've been watching a few of my favorite episodes, because all of the Revive series is available on HBO Max. So been just watching a bunch of random episodes, and Doctor Who's a good time. I don't really have much to say about it here that I probably haven't already said in that podcast, and that I don't think is immediately self-evident. Doctor Who was a huge thing in pop culture across the world for a few years there, so I feel like most people know what Doctor Who is and why people like it now. So, yeah, but that's gonna do it for this chunk of the podcast. I don't really have much else to talk about this week, and I got a lot to do today, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off. I'll see you guys in a minute. And it is the 15th. Not really been much eventful stuff going on this week, I gotta admit. Kinda going through the motions, getting the video done, and I think this week came together fairly well. The Owl House video seems to have done okay, which was nice for something I don't normally cover, being Western. Did a little bit of rehearsing to try and make it come out more smoothly than the Ghost video, and I think that paid off. Though it was kind of interesting going to record that, because I went to the back trail to record that again, and I had a specific location in mind, because whenever I first moved here and explored that trail, I found, like, this old, rusty, abandoned truck from, like, the 80s or the 90s that was just chilling on the back trail way back in there. And I haven't been that deep in the trail in quite a while, but I went to what I think is the exact spot where I remember it being when I last saw it, like, I want to say a little under a year ago, and it wasn't there. I think somebody found it and salvaged it and got it out of there somehow, which is interesting because it looked like so rusty and old. I was like, you probably can't move this anymore. But instead of using that for the background, I just used kind of like a mossy, foresty area that was just off to the side of the trail nearby it. And I think that worked out fairly well. I was just kind of generally going for that kind of like densely wooded, pseudo-abandoned area deep in the forest look that a lot of the spots, a lot of the forests in the show tend to have. I always kind of try and match the actual aesthetic of the show a bit. It was interesting shooting that though, because there was a couple moments where people actually came along the trail, and I had to stop for a minute just to be like, hey, hi, have a good day, blah blah blah. And I've never had that happen before. The closest I've ever come is when that cop interrupted me while I was shooting the DC video. But this was much more casual, just like, oh, they're walking on the trail and I'm here standing on the edge of it making a YouTube video. Okay, well, whatever, bye. Didn't really anticipate that happening after so long of doing this whole shooting outside thing, not having much remotely like it happen. Whatever. I suppose the big thing to note about this, though, is that I did actually have to do a fair bit of editing to it, because a couple of bits I forgot until like right before I was shooting the ending of the video, and I had to shoot them later and insert it in there, which just kind of screwed with the continuity of things a little bit, but it was already a bit shoddy thanks to that glare that kept coming in and out, and I swear, did not notice it until I was editing, because I went and hit record and it looked fine, and you see it kind of comes and goes. It's just it's either the clouds or the sun itself is moving along, and sometimes the trees are blocking it, sometimes it's not, and it's just like right at the beginning of there, it's hitting right on the edge of the lens, so it looks a little weird. I did actually end up cutting a couple things out of the video too. There was a little segment where I talked about the voice actors, but some of the like wording and terminology I use was like just off enough that I was like, I don't know if I'll get comments about this, but it's gonna bug me that I left this in when I spoke incorrectly like this, even though you can kind of get my meaning. So we're just gonna take this little segment out, and it's gonna cut like a minute and a half out of the video. And then there's the bit at the end. It's probably really obvious because it's just a clean jump cut at the end there when I'm talking about like when I'm doing the you never fail until you stop trying bit, and I mentioned Dana Terrence. For some reason, I had forgotten I talked about her briefly earlier in the video, and I said Dana Terrence, the creator of the show, and then continued on with the thing like I did there, and I was like, that sounds really redundant and freaking talk-downingly when I have that other bit where I established that she's the creator of the show. Let's just snip that right out. I suppose I could have made it look a little better by doing like a little zoom on the first bit, but at that point I was ready for it to be done, so just get it out the door, get it up for everybody, and it seems like it's paid off pretty well. Haven't gotten a lot of comments on the video, but it's gotten a fair amount of views, and I think the like ratio on it is okay too. Let me pull up the YouTube studio. Yeah, so we're sitting at 73 views, which is actually more than the Ghost video had by this point. And decent click-through ratio, decent view duration, not too bad. And it's got 5 likes, so you know, it's doing okay. And I should say, like a week later, the Ghost video did actually end up getting a decent reception. Most of the comments seem to be either like, yeah, this sucks, or I agree with you, or like, well, I don't agree with you, but I'm not mad at you for feeling that way. At least you're being honest about it. At least you're like defining your reasons. And it's like, that's about the best as the comments of this video could have turned out to be. So that's fair. That's perfectly. And I would like to get comments like that on this Owl House video, but not getting that is okay too, because like even when I posted it in some Discord servers, some of the people in there were like, "Oh, hey, I like that show. That's cool that you made a video about that." So that makes me happy. Yeah, just kind of trying to continue to get through it this week. Mainly just doing the stuff and enjoying a little bit of content I'm taking in. I'm still working my way through Doom Patrol. I'm on the second or third episode of season 3, and that show is still really, really good. I actually dropped CW Supergirl again halfway through the third season. I watched another couple episodes while I was editing the Owl House video, and I was just like, fuck this. I don't want to watch this. I hate this. This is bad. This is bad, and not in like a really entertaining way, and it just makes me sad because it's my favorite character. I gotta stop. So that's done, and well, I do want to watch the final season of The Crown and the Scott Pilgrim anime. I'm probably not going to renew my Netflix subscription for them. I'll probably just torrent those. Yeah, that's pretty much that. I did try and rewatch a little bit of Transformers Armada while I was editing, and I mean, that show is what it is. The animation is really spotty. The characterization is pretty basic, and the story is just bleh. So it's not a good show by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a show I have a nostalgic attachment to, so I can kind of like get into it. I wouldn't recommend watching Transformers Armada, especially over Micron Legend, because Micron Legend actually had all the animation errors fixed, and it's the native language that show was written in, so the dialogue sounds a lot better that way. Like, I love the American voice cast. I'm attached to those characters sounding that way, so that's why I'll never sit through all Micron Legend. But if you didn't grow up watching Armada, you don't need to go back and rewatch it. That's something that's just like every once in a while I'll watch a little bit of that or Energon and just be like, yeah, I remember being 6. And I keep watching Doctor Who. I'm full on like, you know what, the 60th specials are coming out next month. Let's just rewatch a bunch of recent or semi-recent stuff until those start dropping, and just kind of enjoy re-immersing myself in that world, since the Components episode kind of got me started on that. Right now I'm rewatching Series 10, because that's the last full season of the show I remember really enjoying. I'm not sure if I'm going to rewatch all of 13's era. I might skip around a bit, but I'm going to at least try. I'm going to try and give it another chance, because I rarely rewatched episodes of that era. Just something about the writing and the general atmosphere of the Chibnall era never quite sat right for me, so I didn't spend any more time with it than I really had to. It's not because the Doctor's a woman. I have really no problem with that shit. And I actually really like Jodie Whittaker's performance. I just felt like the something about the way the stories were handled was just off, which was a shame, because like I said, I like Jodie as a Doctor. I liked the idea of having a bigger group of companions and making it more of an ensemble show again. I'd actually been asking for that, I think, from pretty much the back half of Smith's era onwards. I was like, we need to do that again. That'd be interesting. Like, give us a dynamic like the First Doctor and his companions or the Fifth Doctor and his companions. I want to see that again. And they certainly tried to do that with the Chibnall era. It just didn't quite work out, which is unfortunate. But that's pretty much all that's been going on. I've just been going to work, been making this Owl House video, and been watching more media, so yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in another week. Bye. And it is finally the 21st. I gotta admit, it's been a decent week, but I am feeling a bit annoyed, a bit pissed off, a bit mad, a bit angry, a bit agitated, just because I'm missing out on a lot of shit this weekend. You know, it's cool and all that we're kicking off the fall break right now. You know, there's not going to be class at my work for the next week and a half, so I can kind of kick back a little at work, maybe catch up on some reading or some side projects and stuff like that. But man, fucking Spider-Man and Mario Wonder came out, and I don't have the money for them, and I don't have the time to play them, and I ain't played the first fucking Spidey game, so I'm not getting around to that anytime soon. And fucking TFCon Orlando is going on right now. A show that I fully intended to be at the start of the year when it got announced. I was gonna make a whole thing of it. Me and Snowcone83 were gonna go together. We were gonna shoot vlogs. We were gonna pal around. We were gonna do an in-person episode of Saturday morning panels. It was gonna be the tits, man. But then Ron DeSantis had to go and make a law that makes me feel morally gross spending money in that state anymore. And Snowcone and Boingo both live there, so now it's like, not only can I not go to this convention I wanted to go to without feeling like an asshole, but I gotta fucking figure out a way to justify visiting my friend, well, screwing over people I don't even know, people who are being forced to move out of that state because of the bullshit fucking laws they're enacting. Florida is truly the worst fucking place on earth. It's not even like, I get all the Florida is bad jokes, I get that it's played out, I've heard it's America's dong a million fucking times, but it is Satan's fucking taint, in my opinion. I hate that place. I lived there for 5 years, 5 shitty fucking sucking years, and I still hear about it every fucking week, some new stupid fucking thing they're doing there, and it breaks my heart that my buddies live there, and they're probably not gonna move out anytime soon. So if I ever want to hang out with them, I gotta spend the money to drive all the way fucking down there and hang out with them, because both of them don't have the financial situation to be able to drive up here, which sucks, because in my opinion, up here is a way cooler place to hang out anyway. We got a lot more specialized nerd stores, cool parks to walk around, and just shit to do. I really, really want to have a modular summit in Greenville, but it's probably never gonna fucking happen, and that pisses me the hell off. So fuck you, Ron DeSantis, fuck you, accidents of birth, and fuck Florida. I'm grumpy. I'm so grumpy I fucking released a new video today. The Garo video finally came out after being in development hell for probably 3 or 4 years now, because I've been wanting to make Garo a thing I regularly discuss on the channel for a long ass time. I had originally envisioned it way back in like the beginning of the pandemic, when I was first thinking about becoming a weekly content creator. I had a whole idea for like, okay, well, it's a big thing in content creation to have a spooky, scary bullshit month every year, and there's not really a lot of tokusatsu that fits that, and at the time I wanted to be a strictly tokusatsu channel, so let's just stretch out Garo content over October, do like a bunch of different Garo videos a year, because there's a lot of Garo. There's like a few different shows, there's a bunch of movies, bunch of miniseries and specials, and even within that, I could just look at individual episodes and talk about what makes them so great, because that's the fucking thing about Garo. Well, it does have a story that builds up over the course of each series. There's a lot of really solid little one-off plots about just monsters doing creepy shit to people, and I always thought it would be cool to talk about it that way. And I've had that like nighttime opening, me doing the Garo narration to kick it off in my head this entire fucking time. The location has changed a few different times. Once I thought it would be on like a busy street in the middle of the night, which a street that is busy during the day in the middle of the night that looks abandoned. Then I thought about doing the whole sit in front of a campfire while you film the video thing. Then I thought about filming it out in the woods. And eventually I just found this alley, which is like maybe a 2-minute walk from the building I clock in at on the college campus I work at. And I was just like, oh wow, this is perfect. I like the way this looks. I wanted to shoot it a little more dead on going down the alley, but the floodlight that was there on one of the buildings, the way it hit me, I was like totally washed out and didn't look great. So I adjusted it to be against the one wall, and honestly, I don't think it was that bad of a change. I only wish it was maybe a tad brighter, because I am mostly in shadow for the video, but then again, that fits the tone, so I don't know. The only other thing I could really say about it is just like, hey, it was interesting filming at night for once, but also, like, I knew there weren't going to be a lot of people around there. There were some people out walking their dogs that lived in the dorms, maybe I don't know, a street or two over, and I think you could hear them in the background sometimes, but I didn't mind that so much because I thought it added to the atmosphere. And mostly I just kind of went through the video because I rehearsed it every day leading up to it since releasing last week's video, the Owl House video, because I was like, I wanna make sure I get this as right as I can. I think there was one thing that I had in a couple of the rehearsals that I really liked that I just completely forgot to do. I wish I had gotten it in there, which was just making the comparison of like, yo, Koga vs. Garo kind of feels to me like Soul Eater, like the initial arcs of Soul Eater where it's taking place in the real world and there's the secret society in the background. But Ryuga vs. Garo feels like Naruto, because the Makai Knights are out in the open, it's a much more fantastical world, there's a lot more crazy, insane action that happens. It's a lot more overtly a fantasy than the Ryugaverse, or the Kogaverse, which is much more of like a urban fantasy. It's like an urban fantasy, whereas the Ryuga one is just straight up fantasy. I wanted to get that comparison in there, and I feel like I got something akin to it in there, but while I was editing, I just noticed like, oh, I never said those names. I never made that direct comparison. Don't love that, but otherwise I feel like it turned out fairly well. Haven't looked at the numbers since publishing the video, and it's been about 5 hours now, so let's go ahead and open up the old YouTube studio. Okay, we got a new subscriber off the back of it. It got 50 views and a comment and 7 likes. That's not terrible. It's not as good as the Owl House video, which did surprisingly well in the long run. It's almost at 150 views right now, but it did okay. So maybe more Garo content in the future. We'll see about that. We'll see. That's something I'll have to think about. But not much else been going on this week. I'm still rocking through Doom Patrol, and it's a fantastic fucking show right now. It always feels like the middle of the season. I always really get into it. I really enjoy that chunk of the show, and that's because that's always when they get to slow down a little and focus on the characters a little more. They're not setting all the pieces up, and they're not hurtling towards the conclusion of that season's plot. And it's often when my boy Cyborg gets the most characterization. He, like I talked about him before, there was that whole episode where he booted up Tinder in season 1, and there was like just a whole episode about him being sad because people only want to fuck him because he's Cyborg. And then there was a bit in season 2 where he actually got a real girlfriend, and then it turned out she was a criminal, and he had to grapple with that for a while. And then this season, there's been like a whole arc building of him trying to deal with the fallout of helping his criminal girlfriend, and Star Labs getting mad at him and his dad almost losing his job because of it. And there was like a whole couple episodes where like the entire Doom Patrol died because of some bullshit, and then they came back. And by the way, I fucking love that that they just straight up did the everybody dies and then they come right back after doing some spiritual bullshit, and they just offhandedly refer to it from that point on. Like, that is the most comic book thing I have ever seen in a comic book adaptation. There's literally a moment where Cyborg goes like, hey Dad, I died a couple days ago and I talked to Mom and she said this thing and I just wanted to check with you if it was real. And Cyborg's dad just looks at him like, what the fuck? And he goes, oh no, don't worry, I got better. I'm fine. I need to know about this thing. And I fucking loved that. That and like the way they're doing the brotherhood or the sisterhood in this show, the sisterhood of Dada. That's been really fun. A lot of really good performances this season too. I am fucking in love with the Doom Patrol show. I'm really kicking myself for having not kept up with it, especially because it's in its fourth and final season right now, and I'm halfway through the third. So I'm looking forward to getting caught up. Hopefully, I'll get to watch the finale at the same time as everybody else, because it's a damn fine show, and you should be watching it if you're not. But that's about all I got to say this podcast, except a couple of announcements are in order as always. This weekend we're going to be doing a stream, our monthly live stream. Hopefully don't have any mic issues again. I'm going to be double checking that as I go through it, but it's also going to be because, of course, I should have known this was going to happen, but as soon as I did the Transformers show tier list, everybody asked for, well, one person, the only fucking comment I got on that was just somebody saying like, hey, you should do a Power Rangers tier list now. Fuck it, okay. The show as we know it is pretty much dead, so why not just make my definitive tier list, and I'll probably get a buddy along with me to talk about it, to do the stream with me. I'll get an event for that up in the next couple of days. And in next month's videos, the November videos, I'm actually going to be trying to do 4 videos again. Might still cram in a stream, might not. I'm going to play it by ear for now. But right now, the plan is we're going to be doing the rest of the Legacy Evolution Armada toys, the Transformers, because I did Hotshot and Starscream way back when they came out. Now we've got Jolt, we got Megatron, we got Optimus. I need to talk about those, so we're going to get that done. Then there's going to be a video on Kamen Rider Kuga, which is probably the best Kamen Rider series of all time, one of the best tokusatsu shows ever made. Really been meaning to espouse its virtues for a long, long time. And equally, I've been meaning to remake my original Supergirl video for a long, long time, because I'll probably get more into it when I actually have made that video, and I'm recording a Patreon podcast for that. But I still really like that original Supergirl video, except for the gimmicky bullshit that surrounded it, and it kind of sucks that I don't have those files anymore. So I'm gonna essentially try to redo / update it with all the thoughts and feelings on content that has come since that video, which I think was back in like 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. It's been a few years. There's more to say on Supergirl now, so we're going to do a new Supergirl video, and then we're going to end off the month by talking about a childhood favorite toy line of mine that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the toy collecting sphere, in my opinion, and that's Rescue Heroes. I'm going to be doing a video on Rescue Heroes at the end of November, and might be a interesting little announcement at the end of the next one of these Patreon podcasts to go along with that. But for right now, thank you all for listening. Thank you for your continued support throughout the month of October. I'll see ya next weekend for the stream, and I hope you're doing okay and that you take care. Bye now.